Today we have Sukanya Sinha with us. She is a bright student. So let me brief about her affiliations. Means not affiliation, but affiliations. So she is a research scholar at University of Witwatersrand, South Africa. She is also a member of Atlas member CERN, Marie Curie early stage researcher, University of Glasgow, Scotland. And most probably she has joined with us here from Scotland only. So welcome Sukanya on from behalf of ReaL StorY for this short session. So how are you doing now?
Yeah, doing fine in terms of the COVID situation, at least. You can finally go out here. So yeah, I'm based in Glasgow right now in Scotland for the past 3 months at least. And yeah, it's pretty nice so far. How are you guys?
What is the situation now there?
The restrictions are easing up a bit right now. So previously we weren't really allowed to go to restaurants or movie theaters and stuff, but now they're relaxing it a bit, at least for a few weeks to come. Let's see how things turn out after that.
Okay. So now tell us about your bit about your childhood, means where you have schooled from, your graduations and all those stuffs.
Yeah, so I did my school years from Kolkata in India. So I come from a CBSE background, and I did my higher secondary in Abhinav Bharti High School in Kolkata. And then I realized that I have a passion for physics and I wanted to pursue that. So I went on with my bachelor's from Ashutosh College, which is in Kolkata as well, affiliated under the University of Calcutta. And after that, I decided that I have spent a lot of my life in Kolkata, so I want to move out now. And that's when I decided that I want to do my master's outside of Kolkata, and I moved to Banaras Hindu University for a master's in theoretical particle physics. And yeah, that's about it for my education. And then I decided that, okay, I've done my master's, now it's time for a PhD. So I started looking for PhD positions abroad while I was teaching as a lecturer in Calcutta Institute of Engineering and Management in Kolkata for the years 2018 till mid 2019 before I joined my PhD.
Okay. So what are the basic requirements it's required for getting a PhD position abroad?
Well, it depends. It depends on the country that you're looking to get a PhD from. So mostly people from India tend to go for PhDs in US or UK or some other country in Europe. So if you're applying for a US university, the sure short way of getting a PhD is by qualifying the GRE and TOEFL exams. So they conduct these entrance exams every year, I think about 2 times. And if you can clear those exams and you have a sufficiently high score, then you can apply to universities which take student applications from starting above course. And if you get through, you join their graduate program itself. Now for Europe, it's a bit more trickier because they don't really have any entrance exams. So what you have to do is you have to look out for advertisements that different PhD supervisors send out all throughout the year, whether they're looking for 1 student or 2 students to join their projects. And once you find those advertisements, you need to contact them personally. And this is where your prior research experience, maybe it's a dissertation or something, that comes in handy. So if you have any research publication in your master's level or even a very good dissertation thesis in your master's, add that for your applications to PhDs for Europe.
Okay, so what means there are any sources from where students can find these advertisements or all those things?
Yeah, so I can mention specifically for people who are looking for PhDs in high energy physics. So there's this huge source bank called inspirehip.net jobs. So every person who's looking for a PhD student in high energy physics or nuclear physics will post the ad there. So you need to keep on searching, going to that website and looking for new ads that come up. And those ads are most most of the time very detailed. So you get a picture of the project and what the supervisor wants from the student on the basis of the ad. I got my PhD position based on an Inspire ad as well. So
okay. So you have this is also things which is very common, that you have to write SOPs or the things which you have in your mind to approach the professors whom you want to apply. So can you tell something about this? Means how much detail you have to write about the SOPs and what is the ideas in your mind or like that?
yeah, so SOP is basically statement of purpose. Now, most European universities tend to ask for a statement of purpose from the candidate because they want to gauge how much the candidate already knows about the specific field or the position they're applying for. But I know of cases where people who have come from a completely different background have got the job because their statement of purpose was convincing enough. So the idea is that don't make it too long. They are going through gazillions of applications, and any statement of purpose which is more than 2 pages long will not make the cut. Because if you can't sell yourself within 2 pages, then it's probably not worth it for them. And I mean, personally, in my experience, I would suggest that you stick with the idea that you have the bigger picture for the field. And even if you're new to the field, explain to people that, explain to the application viewer that you are eager to learn more about the field and you have done the following studies, which has helped you gain a better understanding of how the field works. And most of the time, I think that's what sells. They just want to see that you're interested in learning and working, even if you don't know everything, because no one can know everything. So, yeah.
So now tell us about your journey, means the process you have gone through to get this position in South Africa and all those affiliations, the great affiliations that you are having. And means, and what you think that the thing which you have in your CV or your in your profile, which has helped you to earn this position right now.
Yeah, so my journey is quite interesting because people usually decide where or what they want to do in their later stages of bachelor's. But when I was in class 9, I decided I want to do physics. And when I was in class 12, I decided I want to do particle physics. So my story is kind of inspiring because I mean, we are the same age group. So you probably remember that back in 2012, when we were still high school students, CERN made this huge discovery of the Higgs boson, which is the final particle within the standard model. I'm sorry if I'm getting too technical, but it was kind of a huge discovery in the field of particle physics that happened almost after 50 years. And it kind of motivated me to search for more answers which have remain unanswered so far. So that's what kind of pushed me towards physics even more for my bachelor's and master's. And to be honest, I wanted to do theoretical particle physics because that's how most Indians are trained to think, that if you're doing theory, you're a genius, and if you're doing experiment, you're not. But I mean, looking at the scenario in Indian universities and the way it's getting even more difficult to get a PhD each day, I decided that maybe it's a better shot to try abroad. So I had this Facebook post where someone commented me that there is this person looking for a student in the Atlas group in South Africa, and maybe this is a good fit for you because you are working on particle physics and this is very close to what you work on. So I saw the Inspire ad and I applied. And usually you don't really hear people applying to South Africa from India. And that's because the application process is super tedious. You have to go through a lot of qualification validation because they don't recognize our marking system. So they have to judge our marking system based on how they mark their students. So all that application process takes about a year to apply even before you get the visa. So, but I still applied, and the position was for the Atlas collaboration in CERN. So I was automatically added as a member in that collaboration because I am using the data collected by the Atlas experiment and doing my research on that data. And yeah, so that's the general story of how I joined my PhD. And as for my Glasgow University position, which is the Marie Curie Early Career Researcher position, the things I'm working on have a bit of Monte Carlo simulation generation angles. So I have been working on dark matter so far since the past 2 years. And this is getting a bit technical, but the only way to estimate dark matter in the unconventional signatures that I'm looking for is that there is one Monte Carlo simulation existing, and that's not enough to get the uncertainties calculated. So I decided that maybe it's time that we go for another dark shower simulation module, which is not there. And I proposed that idea, and it was liked by people here, and they invited me to have a short-term position with them for 6 months so that I can work for that. So that's my story here in Glasgow.
So you, if you can elaborate the process which you are telling, that it is a bit tedious process to get the positions in South Africa. So for the viewers who are listening, if they want somehow to join the PhD program there, so how much tedious or what process they have to go through? So if you elaborate it briefly in that.
Yeah, sure. So I was hired by a specific funding that my PhD supervisor had. So I didn't have to go through the entire process of writing applications for funding. But if someone wants to join a PhD position in South Africa and he or she is from some other country, then they have to apply through the NRF TWAS program, which is basically meant for international students who can write a research proposal, obviously along with some South African professor. And if the proposal is selected, they get funding for 3 years of PhD, because in South Africa, the PhD is minimum 3 years and maximum 4 years. So you can get funding if you apply via the NRF TWAS program. You write a proposal, you write a complete application along with your CV and different recommendations, and then it's up to the funding agency to decide whether you get it. So that takes about a year.
Okay. So before applying, the profile which you have means the thing which boosted you to get the PhD position there. Anything about that?
Well, I always loved traveling. And when I saw this advertisement for South Africa, I thought that maybe it will be a nice experience going to another country altogether and kind of setting myself up there. And because there's rarely any Indian student there, it would be a new experience. And maybe I'll be the one who will be telling other students that, okay, this is a nice place, you can come and work as well. So I think that's one of the reasons why I chose this. And also the other reason is that Atlas is a worldwide collaboration of more than 3,000 physicists. So working with Atlas collaboration gives me a kind of a better feel of how the world of experimental particle physics is developing each day, because this is where all the exciting things are happening so far. And when I saw that position, I was pretty sure that this is my true calling.
Okay.
So it depends on the person. I mean, if you're interested in theory and you're unsure that whether shifting to experiment is good for you, then think about this. It's physics at the end of the day, and you get to travel a lot. I mean, since my PhD started, I have traveled to 8 countries, and it's always been better than the previous one. And finally, if you like interacting and talking with people, then definitely this is for you.
So what about the scholarship? Means the scholarship that you gain from there, so it is enough to carry out your daily lives or everything like that?
Yeah, because the South African currency is great. More heavier than the Indian currency. So whatever scholarship you get, it's more than enough to sustain yourself in the country. I mean, you can even send back some home if you want. I mean, that won't be a problem.
So how is the lab atmosphere there? Means the working hour, any specific timing or something like that?
Yeah, it depends on the supervisor, but in research, there's no specific work timing. I mean, you can start working whenever you want, and as long as you get the job done, I don't think anyone's gonna time you whether you're coming in exactly at 8 a.m. and not leaving before 5 p.m. As long as you get output, it's fine. And in research, you don't really have a work timing because there are some days when you're not exactly as productive as you would have expected to be because the ideas aren't just coming to you. And then there are other days when your brain is just full of new ideas which you want to try out. So
Yes.
it's kind of a nice balance that you have to try and maintain. And for lab, the thing is that I kind of treat myself as a fake experimentalist because I don't really do any lab work. I mean, I don't really design any hardware. I'm just analyzing the data. So my lab is CERN, which is in Switzerland, but my office is in South Africa, in Johannesburg. So, I mean, the atmosphere with my colleagues and, I mean, some of them are my friends now. It's pretty nice. I mean, it's pretty chilled out as long as you know how to mix with people.
Okay. So what difference you felt there, the Indian labs or Indian culture of this academic system and that you are facing there? So according to you, so what is the difference that you can make it out from here?
I might be a bit biased because I haven't worked in an Indian lab ever. I have only studied in Indian universities. But from I hear from my friends, the work atmosphere is a bit better outside the country because there is a bit more liberty in how things are done. And as well as the fact that instead of a 5-year PhD, you get to do a 3-year PhD. That saves 2 years of your life to try and different things or go for a postdoc position. So that's obviously kind of a plus point for me. But yeah, I mean, in general, I think when you get out of the country and you work with people from different nationalities and different places, you get a broader picture of how people are thinking from other parts of the world as well, and not just restricting yourself to what people are thinking in your institute or your country. So it gives you a better sense of in which direction your field is going. And this is not just physics, it's for any field out there. If you're interested in research, you have to be in line with the trends that are happening. And you can only get that sense when you travel outside of your comfort zone.
So when you first stepped at South Africa for your research, so how you felt or how much time you took to cope with up that atmosphere or the research group, and how many Indians are there, or according to you, the very less Indians go there, but still.
Yeah, so my journey is a bit unusual because my PhD supervisor has been very, very helpful and very nice. And he is an Indian by nature. He's an US citizen, but he is an Indian by origin. And he's from Kolkata itself. So, I mean, speaking with my PhD supervisor in my mother tongue has always been helpful. But I know people who have joined South African supervisors, and there's a language barrier. They speak only English, and this person speaks both English and Bengali, for instance. But everything's been fine. I mean, the PhD supervisor and student relationship is very personal. So it depends from individual to individual. But I think in general, it's fine so far. And everyone's really welcoming in South Africa, as well as in Switzerland, my lab, CERN. And so far, I never felt that I'm coming from a different place and I don't belong here, because when we're talking physics, we're all equals at that level.
Right. So if you want to say something more about your research life, means how you are enjoying it, or about your research area in some more elaborately, you can.
Yeah. Okay. So, as I mentioned, I have been working on dark matter ever since I started my PhD. Now, to give a general idea of to people who are not particle physics oriented so far. So, there is a theory in particle physics, which says that there are 17 fundamental particles that make up everything that we see, feel, or experience. However, there have been astrophysical studies that have shown that out of the entire universe's matter content, only 5% is visible matter. That is, you, me, everything that we're seeing is just 5%, whereas the rest 95% is unknown. And that unknown entity is dark matter and dark energy, which we don't know. So I am trying to search for dark matter, assuming that it is another particle that we haven't looked at yet. And my thesis is primarily based on that. So I am looking and I'm searching for dark matter using something called jets. So the idea is that in the Large Hadron Collider at CERN, particles are accelerated at very, very high energies, and they collide with each other to form a Big Bang-like scenario in a controlled environment. And the particles coming out of those collisions can be treated as something called conical objects called jets. So you can imagine a glass full of gems or skittles. So the glass is the conical object called the jet, and the gems or skittles are the particles. So I'm searching for such jets where some of the gems or the skittles are missing. So that constitutes to missing transverse momentum. And if I find that scenario, then it can lead to possibility of the existence of dark matter. But I can't tell you what I've found so far. Otherwise, I'll have to kill you because of the non-disclosure policy. Yeah. But
so well, okay. So what Sukanya told, everything went above my head. But the viewers who you are seeing, if you feel that it is interesting and if you want to interact with her, you can obviously ask for us, and we will try to manage and contact with her with you. So
yeah,
another thing,
I mean, I can give my email ID to anyone who's interested, and
then so when we will upload this video, so in the description box we'll mention your email ID. So from there, if someone interested, they can catch you up.
Yeah.
So another thing I want to, it is interesting and I want to know it eagerly. So the CERN, which is the very dream place for many every particle physics researchers or like that. So when you first stepped that premises, what was your feelings?
It was unbelievable, to be honest, because I dreamt of going to CERN ever since I was in high school. And to be honest, even before I started my PhD, when I was doing my master's, I never imagined I would be able to go to CERN and work there as a researcher. It's like a dream come true. So I still remember the first time I went there. It was an unbelievable experience. I was just jumping around from place to place and just clicking photos with myself because I was just too excited, and I couldn't believe my eyes that I was actually there. And the environment at CERN is just so amazing. There's this positive energy that you feel when you enter that environment, and you see brilliant researchers just sitting in the corner and discussing physics, and you get to sit with them and discuss physics as if you're their equal. I mean, I met so many brilliant researchers. Probably a lot of you don't know who are not in particle physics. I met John Ellis. I met Brian Cox, and it was just a fan moment for me because I have been reading their books ever since I started my bachelor's, and then now I'm getting to meeting them and discussing stuff with them. As a researcher, it's a different experience altogether. But yeah, I mean, you just have to be there to kind of understand what I was feeling. But yeah, it's worth a visit always.
So we'll not prolong our discussion much. So if some guys have any questions or any something stuffs which I have not discussed, or if you want to know from her, so you can always comment there. And lastly, I will ask Sukanya to tell or suggest some tips to your juniors or the people who are looking for PhD abroad. So what should they focus at to get a PhD position abroad, or so what should they prepare? Means how many internships or how much focus they should give to their projects? And sometimes you have told that you have got your positions by looking in the Facebook, some comments or like that. But I have heard many they have to write lots and lots of proposals, like 100, 200 proposals, and after that some from there they are getting. So all these stuffs. And if you want to suggest to your junior something that how should they proceed or what should they focus at?
Yeah, so I think it's better to start as soon as possible because preparation for a PhD abroad takes a lot of time. I mean, I did an internship right after my bachelor's in Harish Chandra Research Institute in Allahabad with one of the finest particle physicists of our time, Professor Vishrup Mukhopadhyay. And that internship definitely opened my eyes to the world of research at a very young age. But I know that there are situations where students don't join internships during their bachelor's. So if there is an option of joining an internship during your master's, go for it. I mean, experience apart from your studies always helps. And if there is no option, then I would suggest that if you have an option of dissertation in your master's, then please take it seriously. Do the dissertation as best as you can. And if you can publish something out of it, more the merrier. Because at least in Europe, the only way they can judge your capability is by looking at your dissertation or your publications along with the recommendations from your supervisors. So take the dissertation extremely seriously. For me, my internship and my dissertation were the only things that worked. And I got the position. Not my marks, not my position at BHU or some other university. It was just my dissertation research, my understanding of the subject, and my connections with the right people that helped me to get this position, because my PhD supervisor happened to have internship with the same physicist that I had my internship with in my bachelor's. So when he saw that, she got an internship with this guy, that means she's not an utter idiot, because otherwise he won't choose her. So then his recommendation obviously had an impact. So work hard. I mean, studying your subject is obviously important. You need to know what's the underlying principles, but you need to have some research experience. Otherwise, it's difficult to get a position abroad. It's not the same case in India. You need to clear an entrance and clear the interview, and you get the position.
Marks really matters. This is also the fact.
In India, definitely marks matter. So it depends on you whether you want a position abroad or in India. I mean, I had like brilliant marks in my master's, but it doesn't really count outside the country.
Okay. So, lot of well wishes for Sukanya to go ahead with her research, and a lot of thanks on behalf of ReaL StorY for joining with us on by managing her busy schedule. So, thank you.
Thanks for having this on a Sunday. It's just 12:30 here. Now it's 1 p.m. So I can still enjoy my Sunday after this.
Okay.
But no, thanks for having me. It was nice to have this conversation.
Okay. Thank you. So we will share your email ID there. And if someone wants, so they can contact you or catch you up.
Yeah, sure. That sounds fine. Thank you.